Just so you guys know, we might be a little light today. I'm going to be running the meeting for Glenn because there was a little bit of a miscommunication of time. So might be a short meeting because I'm just going to follow up on updates and basically what we were working on.
Hello, Randall, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm calling through all right, yeah?
Yeah, you hear you just fine.
Fantastic. Right. Hey, Kiki.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Awesome.
Give it a few more minutes. Let whoever's going to roll in.
Awesome.
Krob made it.
I did.
I did talk to Glenn, and Glenn gave me what the updates and what we need to talk about.
Cool. Am I correct that this should be 8 a.m. Eastern on Thursdays?
Yes, and 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yes. Hey, I get up at 4:30, so it works out.
I'll get that note shot off to Jory to adjust that. Bam, monkey push the button. We have a request to change the meeting.
Awesome.
Make it more European friendly as intended.
Yeah, because Ricardo and Glenn are essential for this. Although I'm starting to get the hang of it, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
How was my inventory so far, Krob, of what I sent over? Was that good?
Oh, I haven't touched it. I've had
Okay. When you have a second
to do today.
Well, when you have a second, just give it a look-see and let me know if you wanted any other information. The API is one of the things we'll talk about today. It's not the most organized thing, but it's workable if you basically spent the last 3 days trying to figure it out. So
Fair.
that's actually so we can get started.
Yeah.
So any new friends besides Okiki? So for those who don't know, Fuzzy and Okiki are helping the SKF team in the developers. So I asked them to be here.
Yeah, so this is Eric Tice. I work for Wipro Technologies. I have been meaning to attend this meeting, but unfortunately I've had overlaps repeatedly. I also missed the section one this morning for the same reason, but yeah, I definitely want to take an active role in this this group.
Cool.
That's amazing to
Have
hear.
you, Eric.
Nice to meet you, dude.
Likewise.
And remember, if you're really bored, all these meetings are recorded. You can watch them over and over again, like a Disney princess video.
Yeah, I find myself watching them even when I'm not bored. So
It's funny. Do you guys want to introduce yourself, Okiki and Fuzzy, so we know a little bit about you? We know you, Fuzzy, but Okiki, you want to give a little bit about your background?
Sure. What to say? Well, I'm Okiki. Been part of open source for a little bit now. Interested in security, making things not shoot you in the foot when they're supposed to work properly, and interested to see where we can take a project further. Right.
Okiki's currently working at Vercel. You could throw that in there.
Oh yeah, I'm currently working at Vercel. Yeah.
And you know, Kiki's a man of like a lot of words, as you can tell. He's honestly such a talented developer. Known him through the Astro community from the past year, and honestly, just a breath of fresh air.
Thanks. You're gonna make me blush.
So keeping with things moving along, I have some SKF updates. Some of this we talked about this morning, but we could talk about it more in detail now. SKF is executing so let me start here. So we're trying to fix a couple of problems in SKF. One of them is contributorship, and one of the things that we've identified is that it's very hard or not very hard, but there's a lot less people willing to contribute to the repository as long as it's an Angular. So we're looking to update that, and we're looking to do a UI redesign. If there's anybody interested on this phone call and being a part of that UI redesign.
So no promises, but I have a UI developer who's skilled in Angular and React who works for me currently. He's based out of Canada. I will broach the subject with him and see if I can get him to, because one of his deliverables is to contribute to a open source project. And he has yet to find one. So this is potentially something he might be able to dive into. So yep. I will talk to him after this meeting.
And if you can get me his email, I believe there's a Figma that is going to be made available by Ricardo. And we have two other designers. We have Anthony, who's not on this call because he had a family issue. And my wife is also a designer. So, and also possibly a lady from Linux Foundation, possibly. Yeah, that would be excellent. We could definitely use some help in UI, Eric. That would be much appreciated.
And which is it the GitHub dev docs?
So that's actually the inventory. If you go on the Slack, most of the conversation on this is probably going to happen on the OSWAP Slack. But as I said, if you get him in touch with me, I will get him all set up.
Gotcha.
And then while that happens, another thing we've talked about is modernizing the API. And we've been playing around with a few things. We kind of identified that Knative, because we already run a very large Kubernetes system. So we kind of identified Knative as being the step forward, or what we think would simplify things. And that also helps with the contributorship, because right now it's in Flask. Really also, so you guys know, for the past 8 years, pretty much this whole project, not in its entirety, but a large part of it has been Ricardo and Glenn. So a lot of this movement is to kind of facilitate things for people coming into the project, because there's a lot of, shall we say, stuff. So we're trying to modernize it and make it easier moving forward. So that also goes out if anyone wants to get involved with that. Fuzzy, Okiki, and I are already involved. But yes, let me know. And then we received, this is more of an OSWAP thing, but I was told to open it up. We received a $15,000 grant from Contrast Securities at SKF to implement some new labs. So far, myself and Anthony, I think, are the only two people.
Sorry, Randall, can you repeat the name just so I can make the note of it?
Contrast Security. It's at the top there too.
Oh, yeah.
They're looking to implement more labs that align with their security automation stuff. So yeah, pretty much we're looking to do that. Yes, Krab.
My dream is that SKF is one of the main pillars of delivering educational content. So as part of our efforts here in this working group, if we can estimate work and objectives we want to achieve, we can bake a funding request into the proposal, the plan here. That's that is the plan. Where we're at with that is we were going to do the SKF inventory. That's that link that I showed you. Yeah.
I think the next step there was to organize a meeting with David and have like, basically we need to have probably like, I don't know if we'll do it in here or it'll be an off-cycle meeting, but we really need to sit down and figure out like what we have and what needs to be there, because
Yeah.
there's also another potential grant that is coming in the direction of SKF. But we are trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do with those funds.
Yeah, so let's, figure out what our gaps are, where we feel additional or reworked labs would be useful, and let's get that put as part of this proposal, and we can figure out the appropriate funding vehicles.
I have been told that one of the gap areas, Fuzzy, you can take note of this, is that we don't have a whole lot of mobile and we don't have a whole lot of IoT. And I've already talked about that with Ricardo. Mobile should not be an issue to address. IoT, we would actually probably need someone with like expertise in that.
Like embedded links or
Like, I think like knowing about IoT infrastructure that is not like Randall building Raspberry Pis for his own
Yeah.
use.
if we can get a discrete ask, I'm confident somebody in the foundation has those skills. We can hopefully get them to contribute.
Yes, and yes, Eric, you're right. Some of this should go on the Slack channel.
Yeah, more what I'm asking is what specifically is the name, because I've got the education one and I've got like 50.
Basically, most of it happens on here, or like SKF's kind of strange because a lot of it happens on the OSWAP Slack. I can get you an invite. Will you give me a second?
I'd appreciate
They have a public Slack, so, but it would probably be stream 1, I'm assuming, is probably what.
I've got the education stream 1. I just, when you mentioned OSWAP, I wasn't sure if it was a different one.
That's the link if you guys want to join the OSWAP Slack. And in the OSWAP Slack, there's a SKF project, I think it's called. Let me just double check. Project SKF, that's what it's called. So yeah. And I do need to stress that with the labs, we could use help there. And also feedback. And going back to this morning, Krob, I did ask Glenn if there was any sort of like survey or anything that was done in the past, like that OSWAP has performed, and he's going to try to check on that for us. He's pretty sure there is.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah. And then as far as following up on the homework, basically in that link, you'll find the inventory that we're performing. It's not 100% done. So I guess the homework would be finish the inventory. But what we have so far is on that link. It's in Markdown. If you go into the pages directory, you could see kind of how it's structured. If you just go into labs, you'll just see the inventory of labs. There's also another table that we're putting together that I don't have the link for right now. If you want, Krob, you could drop it in there. It's not a big deal. And then we were also working on a glossary. I can't remember if that was part of our thing, but I'm pretty sure it was. And Avishai already started on that. I put a link just now in the meeting notes where you can find the work that Avishai has already performed.
Yeah, and actually, I'm going to be taking that and something else to the TAC next week.
Sure.
We feel that the glossary and personas are foundation-wide things. So I want to get the TAC's direction on where those might land. But the full SIG will be helping work out getting some definitions, and I'm happy Avishai started.
Yep. And I'm gonna help with that too, with cert terms and OSWAP. And he's gonna take care of NIST and Microsoft. And beyond that, I'm not too sure what else we have to talk about. I think that's about everything.
I was actually having a. If we go. Sorry, I just want to see if we're just running on time. If there's like.
Oh, we have an
Well,
hour. We have 45 minutes to discuss whatever we want. If there's anything else anybody else wants to discuss, but I mean, do you guys want to discuss Knative? Do you guys want to discuss the front end? I mean, it's completely up to you guys.
I hope you like it's known that we're using Astro for the front. Is this like actually? Let me ask.
Yes, it's
Are we using Astro for the front end?
Yes, we are.
Because
We're
we
using
are. Okay, that's
we're
confirmation.
using X element. At least that's the intent, to use X element and solid.
Okay. So is everyone okay with Astro? I don't know if everyone's familiar with Astro, so I probably should ask.
Yes, we already voted, and basically all the maintainers, which is you, me, Fuzzy, Glenn, and Ricardo, all agree that that's the way forward.
Okay. Okay, since we have that, for the back end, it's actually next question, which is more important as of right now? A refactor of the front end or a refactor of the back end?
Both, but we're
Well,
not touching the front end.
As in for a basic MVP, which is more important?
Well, we're not going to touch the front end until the Figma is basically updated, because there's a Figma right now that basically matches what we have, but everyone agrees that there's a lot of things on the front end that need to be improved. So the intent right now is to have the designers work on that, and while they work on that and get things ironed out, we're going to work on Knative and moving everything from Flask into Knative.
Okay, that's fine.
Because we can't really stitch the UI together unless we get the designs. But if we could get the APIs set up right and the surfaces set up, then yeah, we should be pretty much able to plug in at that point into Astro.
And
Already.
Crop, going back to OpenSSF, the goal of all of this is to make it like ready to work on, because right now working on this is very difficult, and that's part of the problem, because the only people that really can work on this are Ricardo and Glenn.
Yeah,
And
understood.
that's kind of why we're doing
Yeah, no, I have no problems making it, opening this up so we can get more people contributing labs. I think that would be amazing.
Now, you mentioned this morning that being able to extract the data, is that something that we should think about with this Knative, where people could maybe just request data from the Knative endpoint and it just returns back the raw data? Because I think that should be possible.
What data?
Like the actual content, like the knowledge base article, because it's all markdown.
Yeah, that would be useful. But is that already accounted for in Wheeler's GitHub for the class?
Well, he has it all in markdown, but he doesn't have it in an interactive form, and he doesn't have it as part of this. But
I know that SKF kind of did pop-up windows and little wizard kind of things.
Right. And I think, and the big ask as far as David wants is he wants it to be more progressive, more interactive, more of like an actual platform and less of it being just like guided reading.
Yeah.
So that's where Solid and X Element, because this is kind of like the latest of the latest in JavaScript land.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be able to get all the fancy features with animations and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I guess potentially like the edX course or the SCORM Connect course might benefit if we had a little bit more expert advice, a little bit more updated things. So yeah, exposing that so it's you're able to pull that out through an API would be useful.
So yeah, so I think maybe for next time, maybe we can work for our next meeting. Maybe we can work on having like a breakdown of goals and deliverables of what we should maybe think about, because obviously this is a whole new generation of technology that we're jumping to. So there's a lot of different things and a lot of different possibilities. And I think that would be helpful because a lot of it, I mean, we've been playing around a lot with Knative and it's a very impressive system. So I just feel there's a lot that we can do there.
I'd make sure that we have something earmarked in the plan that accounts for this work. And then, I fully endorse the technologist going off and building something awesome and updating.
Awesome.
The real
just-
question
just-
I have here is,
Please.
sorry for
No.
cutting you off. Are we planning to allow people to self-host this? I know we're going to put it on GitHub and all that. Are we planning to allow people are we going to set up like documentation explicitly for how you can self-host this on your own system? If you're using Azure or Mac stuff, or like you're just using your own Linode server or something like that. Are we going to come up with documentation like that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
That's useful to know.
That's actually a big part of this. And let me also mention that because it is something else we're kind of talking about. There are a few companies that you do deploy this platform on their own. So it is necessary for them to be able to do that without having to only be able to do it on Azure, only be able to do it on Google or one of those things. It needs to be universal. So we're talking about potentially using OpenShift just because it would be easier for us to focus on code with OpenShift and we do less finagling and setting up, because it literally took us 3 days to figure out how to set up Knative. So, but even then, a big focus would be not using the special OpenShift stuff, but keeping it to standard Kubernetes as much as possible.
Yeah, I'm wondering if keeping it more standard K8s and outside of the scope is worth it, just so doesn't end up having any accidental ties or functional or limitations based on the fact that you have to use a specific version if you're using OpenShift.
Correct. And what we've been told, and I know Krob worked at Red Hat, so maybe he has some information. I don't know if you know about OpenShift, but
Fortunately, yes.
Okay. We've been told that Kubernetes or OpenShift is just a Kubernetes distro, so that
Yes.
if you don't use the OpenShift format, you can still use the Kubernetes format. So
Yes,
I don't know.
that's true.
So I think that's kind of why we were leaning towards that. So therefore, we could theoretically have something out of the box that works and that's set up somewhat. And we're not building Kubernetes stacks on our own. That's the ideology of using OpenShift. Furthermore, letting people just worry about making labs and doing that sort of thing, that's another focus, is the more we can keep it easy to contribute, the more, or we can, I don't know if we can get rid of the problem of contributorship, but definitely alleviate it as much as possible. So I'm on the right track, right, Krob? I mean, OpenShift should still be universal if we choose to use it that way, correct?
Yes, and if you want, I can set up a technical discussion if you want to talk to some OpenShift folks.
That would be great. And what would also be great if we could, I was going to talk to you about it also, because I do know that open source projects are allowed to use OpenShift, right? Like SKF?
That I'd have to look up. I believe so, but I don't know so.
Okay.
But that should be something pretty easy to ask and get answered quickly.
Fair enough. But yeah, that was one of the things that we were talking about, because Ricardo still has yet to set up Knative. So yeah,
It's on the to-do list.
it's not the easiest thing in the world, but once you do it once, it clicks, and then you could do it forever. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things. But
Yeah.
it is a necessity because of the fact that we don't want to be tied to any serverless platform.
If you want to formulate your questions and write them down for me, I'll
Sure.
get that passed over to my former colleagues.
I'll do that this afternoon. And yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much what we got going on right now. As far as SKF, I don't know what else we have to do here. If anyone has anything else they want to discuss, I would say now would be the time. Or if not, we can get out a little early. No takers.
If somebody wants to just take a look over the minutes that have been put down, just to see if that's all right, and then it'll be all right.
Yeah, it looks good to me. Yeah, looks good to me.
Fantastic. Thanks.
But yes, so in homework, I will make a list of questions and what else? So did you want me to continue working on the glossary with Avishai Krob?
If you have time, sure.
Yeah.
You've taken a lot onto your plate across the different meetings.
I still have yet to have it get out of control.
All right.
Even though I won't admit I did forget about that one, but I can do that one.
Well, it's not something that, we don't have to have it done yet. And ideally, with me pushing that in front of the TAC, we'll be able to get a broader foundation list of collaborators, because each of the groups has kind of their own nomenclature, like the supply chain folks with salsa and whatnot.
Right.
So everybody's kind of got their jargon, and we want to make sure that we harmonize all the words.
Fair.
So
Yeah.
we're not going to get it all done tomorrow.
No.
It'll be a living doc.
So I'll just put continue glossary, and yeah, I think that's it. I think that's our homework.
Yeah, I just asked Krob, how did the Dublin conference go?
I thought it went very well. Unfortunately, they run a lot of micro conferences in parallel. So I think that drew some people away. Like, I think Tuesday was also Hyperledger Day and somebody else. So I think that probably drew away some people that might have shown up. But we had over 100 in the room. And in the morning, we had an additional 100 folks on the internet. So I thought the response was very good. Engagement in the room was amazing. People were kind of not on the edge of their seats, but they were making good eye contact, very engaged with questions. All the content got posted for OpenSSF Day onto the YouTube channel. So if you're curious, you can watch any of the sessions.
Yeah,
I thought it went really well.
Good. No, that's great, man. That's great.
Yeah, and I think they'll definitely be back in the future. And then you also saw there was a notice where they created a whole new wing of the Linux Foundation focused on Europe. And I think I'm going to be knocking on their door asking for more contributors as they start to evolve.
Well, if there's anything I can do, right, being this side of the pond, right, just let me know.
That would be great. Yeah. I can put you in contact with those folks. That they're just starting out the Linux Foundation Europe, but I think there's so much that we can learn from kind of the standards that are developed out of the union, and kind of this is just a different, more disciplined way of thinking sometimes. So I think there's a lot we can learn within the security community and try to drag that to a global exposure.
The moment you bring the German, see, the thing is, right, it's like the Polish, right, from a couple of people friends that I know, right, it's like, I don't like to stereotype people, but I know that they just I don't know how they do brute, they're just battle tested coders. I don't know how they do it, but it's insane.
Yeah, I would love to get, kind of tap into that development community. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And to be honest, right, they are theirs. But that would be amazing to even try and help spearhead. That would be great to tap into, like, especially like, the Eastern European markets. Is like the further east you get, the better developer I find, right? Is like the more maligned that they are, the better the developer, right? Because they see development as their rocket out, if you get me, their escape.
Yeah.
But geographically speaking, they're always going to be locked.
Yep. And I got invited to a special invite-only roundtable with the beginning members of that foundation, and I was the only OpenSSF person, and I was like one of only 2 or 3 Americans in the room. But it was interesting hearing the perspective of the new foundation members, and they're really a large concern in Europe is kind of working with governments and then IT/OT. So I think that's definitely an area that potentially like best practices group might be able to help out or even facilitate with them to get some documented IT/OT best practices. So I think there's a lot of room for collaboration there.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, that's just so exciting. The thing is, right, I just love hearing the word collaboration used in certain circles, where it's needed to.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
What is IT/OT?
So industrial controls and basically like controlling power plants and water treatment plants, nuclear plants, that type of stuff. So
Your thermostat.
Yeah, that's pretty important.
yeah, they're really important stuff. And a lot of those things in the union are run by the governments or have a heavily involvement with the governments.
That makes sense. You want a hacker getting involved there? Makes sense.
Yeah, we all like power and clean water, so anything we can do to help that community would be amazing.
And let me say this, Crop. So the concern with Ricardo there is not just contributing the information, but helping maintain the information.
Yeah.
So just pointing that out because he's pointed that out twice to me. So
yeah,
like in that respect, right? It's more the case of generating a community of developers, enthusiastic security developers who are willing to forgo, the battle wounds of the past and ready to try something anew. So, it's like you find that, cultivate a community around it, and then we can get an on stream of maintainers and contributors coming onto the project.
Yeah, agreed. And then, we just need to figure out as we expand our reach with adding more participants, how do we need to adjust like working group calls and SIG calls to accommodate, different geographies of folks participating.
One way of possibly doing that is actually to have like a service like Loom, so you can have async calls. Because you won't be able to meet up every single day. It just won't happen. Things happen, right? So having async calls allows you to lay down some of the topics you want to talk about, give some, opinions, and then technically the meeting happens over a longer period of time, but you're guaranteed to get it done.
You know something, right? See, when it comes to Loom,
technically fascinating to chat too.
When it comes to Loom, right, I just keep thinking it's like, see, in the days of like the great philosophical debates, like of Immanuel Kant and all that stuff, right? If they had Loom, what would it be like?
Smoke signals, my friend.
Yeah, and that's a good problem for us to have if we get, a rousing round of participation from our friends from the union.
I mean, to be honest,
that's a happy problem.
There will be, because I mean, it's like if I could just even speak about the European congregation that we have of astronauts in the astro community, they're very strong, very talented, and the thing is, like with the astro community, it's like we now span all time zones, so it's active in most time zones now. So we're getting contributions through most points through the day, and it's is really good that way. So that, you know, there's velocity
Mhm.
in there, you know, and a lot of that is driven. I mean, there's a number of European developers that we have who've actually congregated and helped develop the userland products as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's an untapped resource right there, Crop.
Yeah, I'm excited. So hopefully, the day went well. They're going to do it again in future conferences, and again, we'll see how that community develops and how we can partner with them.
Of course.
But they
Like
were
I
also
said,
very excited about education. We had a lot of interest from folks in the audience around education.
can I just ask on that note, what were they saying in relation to the education? What kind of things were they wanting to see? Was there any like key
I didn't
parameters?
get specific asks like I want this, or your time zone is inconvenient for me. But we got a lot of questions like around David's best practices badge, a ton of questions around that, like execution, like how long is the badge good for? How long does it take to go through an assessment? And then just in general, we had a lot of people talking about ideas around privacy is a much deeper concern in Europe than it is here in the States. And I think that's an area, especially that the whole foundation could benefit from if we're able to incorporate a lot of that privacy learning into our practices and our advocacy. So I have a list of notes I need to dig up and type in of just different ideas the folks had there. But it was all they were asking about. We announced the 2 concise guides for developing more secure software and then evaluating open source software. There were a lot of questions about those artifacts and how to get access to them and start using them.
Oh, that's really encouraging.
Yeah.
That is really encouraging, dude. I'm glad to hear that. You must be chuffed.
Yeah, I'm over the moon about that. I thought it was I love going to Ireland. But it was just it was a great experience, and I'm looking forward to hopefully continuing with that momentum we have there.
Of course. Now I'm more capable of moving. I should see you at the next one.
Awesome, cool.
Yeah, and on that note, I also want to throw out there that Jonathan Meadows from End User Working Group wants to get involved.
Good.
So I've been trying to encourage that too, because he has a lot of really good information. Because apparently, the English take security very seriously.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I remember talking to someone. I remember talking to someone who who worked in a what car manufacturer was it in England? I can't remember what car manufacturer it was, but he was a contractor to fix a specific equipment over there, and they literally only allowed him to touch the equipment. That was it, maximum. They limited him so much that he couldn't even do anything with you. You basically had to ask before you could do anything on the equipment. Actually, just like a really small, basic equipment. They really care about that type of stuff.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the city crew had a really interesting presentation about how they are evaluating third-party software and kind of using things like SBOM. It's not up in the videos yet. I have to ask Jennifer if it's going to go up. I'd like to rewatch it, but yeah, there's a lot of really amazing things going on, and it was a good experience. We're going to try to. They're Bellendorf's trying to get us to go to Japan to do the same thing.
Ooh.
And that's a whole other area of the world.
Wow.
We don't have a lot of engagement with APAC.
Well, I have a lot.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Well, due to well, I know in Japan the tech, specifically the software tech industry, there is little I guess constrained by the fact that lots of tech they use over there is a little older.
Mm-hmm.
People are still using IE. Talk about security, it's still using IE. So that one's gonna be an interesting one for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, always moving forward. That's what we need to do. Move the
No,
message
totally.
forward.
It's really good to see the momentum that's gathering behind these initiatives now. It feels like I've said this to Randall, I've said this to PK in passing, and I just want to share this with like Rob here, right? And Eric. It's like my background being of the sciences, being a biochemist, it's like we were taught like institutionalized behavior, right? And I mean, metric weights, standardized weights, the empirical system and all that stuff, this is all standardized. There is institutions and there is guidance that comes down from on high. When you were coding, it felt like there's not enough solid institutionalized behavior within the general ecosystem that you could actually put your hat on. And so that's why I'm really enthusiastic about being part of all these groups, because if there is, a formation of, institutions or institutionalized governance in the ecosystem will be better for, as a result of it.
Yeah, agreed, Fuzzy.
I think the next big question I have about just the general security documentation is how do we guarantee that this propagates across companies and stuff like that, such that if you've learned it the first time, we add some new information in a year or two's time. How do we guarantee that this new information now? You've learned this new information. How do we? Because like security has to be continuous, right? So how do we guarantee that continuous learned information for security? If we're keeping security,
some of the tricks we're going to try to employ is part of our Stream 3 effort for this SIG is rewarding developers. So we were thinking about how do we encourage developers to take the training, pass the tests and get certified. And then, how can we leverage that with the member companies, showcasing here is a pool of trained security developers. You should avail yourself of, when you're hiring. So we're trying to figure out ways we can make that connection for, people that show enthusiasm and participate and get trained to help get them rewarded and, get them career advancement or, new opportunities.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's Stream 3.
Actually,
I'm trying to figure that out.
Actually, I think the bigger question is if after they've gotten that credential, right? How do we guarantee that they go for it again?
Well, and
do we have it
like
every 5 years? You have to reapply and then relearn stuff.
Yeah,
how
we have the ability, like through the Linux Foundation. I'm gonna try to see if we can mandate Linux Foundation projects need to get a best practices badge and need to have a certain scorecard score. And I think, through that way, we can showcase through like electronic badges that, Randall took the fundamental training. And then the next year he took the intermediate training. And then the year after that, he took the expert training. So we're trying to figure out a way to showcase that and encourage that continuous development. Like for my security credentials, I have to have so many CPEs every year. I have to take so much training every year. It's required. Otherwise I lose my certification. I don't know if we'll get that drastic, but we need to.
I think that might be a little bit drastic, especially for open source developers. But if that did every once in a while, I think that'd be fun.
Yeah. But we can figure out a way to showcase that and and reward people to do that continuous improvement.
I think that would only come with buy-in from the industry because that is the ultimate.
I think there is already buy-in for industry, right?
Yeah, there is already.
I think that is. There is already buy-in.
Yeah. So if they take these CPD courses, it's like what's on offer, as value added, then it should take hold. I mean, to be honest, I think it's really encouraging, especially for providing, a form of self-track education for people to get better with as well. I'm all for it, man. I'm really enthusiastic about it all.
Yeah. And even if it's something as small as like a security training leaderboard, and they once a year at the Linux Foundation Member Summit, we say, hey, these are the top 25 developers that took the most training, give them a t-shirt and a plaque or whatever. Just little things like that to try to just get as many different angles we can do to encourage people to take this and advocate for it, the better off we'll all be.
Of course.
Agreed.
So if you have ideas, fob them over to the plan section 3.
Yeah, I would argue that, instead of something like that, maybe so many dollars worth of free certification opportunity or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of different angles we could take. Nothing's set in stone yet.
Yeah, but I mean, that's an easy giveaway. Doesn't really cost the company anything. So
Nope.
Foundation anything.
Exactly. I mean, I keep saying this: free is the most expensive word in the dictionary.
I'm just gonna say this. It's amazing to think about that. Like in the first grade, you used to behave to get like a pizza party. That was like enough motivation that you needed, was just like a pizza party. And now it's like
That's it. Randall's got it. Randall's got it.
And
A pizza party, a gigantic pizza party for all the software developers in the world.
what we do, we just
It'd be
order it
amazing.
all. Right, that's what we do.
Just like if it's a pizza, just preparing like thousands and thousands and thousands of months beforehand, knowing that it's coming up.
Why would we stop at pizza party in that case? We should just take a page out of AWS's book and do a rave.
A rave? The AWS did a rave?
Yeah, AWS has a rave at all of their conventions. That's why they're in Vegas. They hired Skrillex one year. That's how I know.
That in this day and age, that seems like a legal disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of developers.
Well, just so
Right,
you know,
what we do, right? We don't CCHR, right? That's what we don't CC anything.
I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. I'm just saying I can definitely see somebody being opposed to it very vehemently. Right? So,
Yeah, the logistics of it will be interesting. I would say that much.
However, I will say this: AWS gets a lot of fanfare in Vegas for when they do it.
yeah.
What happens in Glasgow stays in Glasgow, troops.
But yeah, it is very interesting.
Actually, I know we don't have we don't have much time. So Christopher, maybe I'll ask you later. Would it be possible to get you to have a talk at Versailles?
Yeah, I'm open to talk anywhere. So yeah, let me know what you want to do. We can make an arrangement, hopefully virtual. Right now, my company is having an opportunity funding traveling, which is why I might not be going to Japan. But everyone's curious. There's the Japan APAC summit details.
Okay. Okay. How do I reach you?
You can reach me through the foundation Slack. You can email me at crob@intel.com.
Are you on Discord by any chance, Rob?
And show up to a random OpenSSF working group call, and there's a high probability I'm there.
I would bet money that Crob is not on Discord, Fuzzy.
I got yelled at by my kids when I did a presentation at Black Hat one year, and everything was on Discord, and they like yelled at me, told me to stop horning in on their stuff.
It's like immediately you use it. It's now a boomer tech. They can't use it anymore. I'm not calling you a boomer. I'm just saying.
No. And my email is in the it's in the agenda here. I'll post it into the chat. So if you're curious, I'm glad to talk more. And I think I'm Crobe in the foundation Slack.
What an email address that is.
You're just jealous because you don't have intel.com at the end of your email address.
I don't want to see. You know what? This would look really cool, right?
We have crappy emails. We don't even have Astro emails.
That would look really cool.
And Randall@gen2.org is kind of like I literally get only spam in that email. But anyway.
Man. Yeah, I mean, this has been an actual blast. Thank you very much for having us tonight.
Yeah, you're welcome, gents. Good conversation. Looking forward to our next meeting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to have all the boys here for execution because that's what they're concerned with, so they could get input and stuff.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it.
So yeah. But yeah, if there's nothing else to do, I think we can adjourn 10 minutes early.
All right.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of your days.
All right. Thanks, Rob.
Fantastic.
Thanks, guys.
Likewise, guys.
Thanks, Eric.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Take care, Eric. Pleasure meeting you, mate. Oh, boys,
Yeah, no,
that was good.
Hey.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. Right, guys. The NVIDIA, right, are the 3060 Ti's and 3070s are available for the Founder Edition ones.
Are they?
Fuzzy's getting a new GPU, boys.
I'm
Who's
probably
getting a new GPU?
both of us because I need one too. Fuzzy at Intel. All right. Anyway.
That was a
Yeah.
fast switch. Wait, which GPU are you getting? Big question.
The 3060 Ti.
3060. Okay, now that makes sense. I was gonna say, are you getting the 40? Have you seen the 40, bro? That's basically a lung, liver, and a kidney.
Is the 40s out yet? No, the 40s are not out yet.
Well, I think 4090 is out, but I don't think the other 40s are out yet.
No. No, but the thing is, right, see, it's like the 3060 Ti, right? I could get that without having to upgrade the PSU on my PC, right? And this way I could, like, do it without having to have a rebuild,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if I'm going to rebuild, then it'll be the DDR5 build, right? And right now, the market's not sensible for a DDR5 build. I'd rather wait a year about that
Yeah.
and then see what the market's like this time next year. But if I get this, it's a Founders Edition fucking Ti, I'm getting that. Like, that is done. I just don't know what delivery date to get.
Did you guys just hear that Krob told us to just do whatever we want to do and to pass him the bill and that he'll pay for it?
Yep.
You
Wait,
hear it?
I did not hear. I did not hear that, but I'm not gonna say I didn't hear it.
He's going to try and speak to the PAC, right, about increasing the funding. Try and get those funds.
Yeah, dude. Like we literally just got funding for our entire shit. Just saying.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, triple.
These calls are being
Is he in
recorded.
Bristol?
Guys, these calls are being recorded.
No, they're not.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
they are.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Yes, they
No,
are.
it isn't because I'm host and I didn't record it.
Yeah, I know.
It's recording right now.
It's not recording on mine.
Yes, it is.
Well,
Yes, it is. What?
but what
It
I'm
is.
saying is we just got funding for an entire like everything we want to do for SKF. Like all we got to do is we got to organize. We got to basically be steady on this and like.
Well, probably. The thing is, I probably won't be able to like go like all in until after my trip, and everything's all settled back down, right?
Mm.
So this
Well,
week has been
that's
just kind of has been
That's fine.
hectic.
But what we need to do is we need to make sure that we sustain and we keep moving forward because like this is all
Yeah.
important stuff. So you know what I mean?
I could get it. I'm
Because-
going to be outside.
because like we have multiple responsibilities. Like we have contract security that or at least I'm doing that. And we just gotta keep moving forward. And then like with I think Anthony's gonna do a lot of the contract security too, to be honest. And then I think from there it's just a matter of like organizing what we need to do for open SSF and make it manageable, And
Mhm.
as I said, if we do a good job, we can get funding or we get the funding and then we can actually also get professionals. So that way it's not all down to like 5 or 6 people, which is really the concern. So, but anyway.
Yeah. This is still being recorded. Do know.
It doesn't really matter. I mean, what we're not saying anything that's incorrect.
I'm not
Yeah,
just like
this is going out live on YouTube.
No, they'll edit it, but we could talk about it later.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you're the host, then it should automatically go to you, I would think.
No, but it doesn't go to me, but basically, or maybe I'm not the host. No, it's actually OpenSSF Operations as a host.
Okay.
I thought I started the meeting though, but maybe I didn't. No, I didn't because Glenn wasn't here. Glenn would have been the host, I think. Anyway, we
That's
could
fine.
figure it out later, or we could figure out how we're gonna organize this later.
So actually, so we're going to start with that K&80 thing because we need the backend API to do anything. What we can do right now, even if you don't have a design, is just set up the Astro files, the templates, the basic stuff, and then add the styles later on once you determine what styles we're going to use. What do you think about that? So just like, yeah, just set up a couple templates. So we know the basic pages, they're going to be there. A couple basic templates on how we want things to be laid out. We take a new design, apply that, and then,
Yeah, that's basically what we're
so
doing.
at least set up a file
A lot of
structure.
the API is already there, just for the record.
Yeah, I think like a full refactor, because a
Hey
full
guys, can we
refactor
get
of the
this
API takes time.
Discord? I'll catch you on Discord, right? I'd rather get off soon and get us on Discord.
All right,
Right.
sounds good. I'll call
See you
you.
in a sec. Right. See you in a
Okay.
sec.
Wait, OWASP has a podcast?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
pretty damn good, man.
Yeah. I'll see you, man.
See you in a bit, bro. Bye.